the square wing Catskill style dry fly. Its square cut wing gives it a distinctive profile and makes it easier to separate and tie, and I'm going to show you why. So grab a cup of chill as we sit back and go on the Vise with the FlyOlderGuy. We're going to start off with a size 14 Togata moonlit hook. I like these hooks. They've got a nice size hook gap, and the barbless point there, very sharp. I'm going to get that situated on the vise, nice and tight. And on the bobbin, we're going to go with a little unithread and a light Cahill. That's sort of the classic color for this Catskill style dry fly. Get that on the bobbin, and we're going to start the thread right around the midpoint of the hook shank there. Get a little bit of a thread base, trim off the tag end. Gonna cover that up, a few more wraps, bring the thread just about 1/3 of the way back, and grab some Woddduck dyed Mallard flank. You can find this, just about anywhere. Commercially, you're not going to find any kind of quality Woddduck flank, and even the Mallard flank, the dyed flanks, you can see these ends. They're usually very split. This piece was actually kind of decent. And either way, I'm just going to trim off the ends. Boom, square them off like that. I know it's like a sacrilege, but as I said, a lot of these feathers are not in good shape. So you square it off, and then you can find that center section very easily. And I just trim out a little bit of that center section. You can see it makes a V. It's kind of a squared off V. Pinch everything together, just like that. And then we're going to lay it in. It's just about, one hook shank long. 1 or 2 wraps. Oh, slipped. All right, I'm going to say to make sure it's situated properly, and then start to really tighten it down. Give it a couple pulls on the back end. If you see it moving, it's not tight enough. Some more wraps. That should about do it. And I'm going to come in and trim that off. Then take the thread, wrap it back over the butt ends, just like so. Come back up to the back edge of the wing, sweep the wing back, and then build a little bit of a thread dam there underneath the wing. I want to get that wing to stand up nice and straight, and it looks pretty good already. Give it a couple more wraps for good measure, just like that. You can see it's already split pretty nicely after that cut. That little wedge cut in there, I notched it out, and then I'll go back over the back, separate the wings a little bit, and then make some crossing X wraps through there. Not so much of a figure 8, but more just a little bit of a crisscross just to separate them a little bit more. But again, the notching and that squaring off, it just makes them separate so much easier. So they're pretty much done in terms of having to get the wing looking good. And I'll just wrap the thread back all the way back to the bend. Not really touching wraps, but you do want to have a nice thread base going there for any other materials that we're going to tie in here. So it's looking good. I'm going to grab a little bit of the dubbing. It's the light Cahill dubbing to match the thread. And just a tiny, tiny bit. And we're going to put a little ball on the back end right at the beginning of that hook bend. And that's going to help us prop up our tailing materials. So again, just a tiny amount of dubbing, a small noodle, to build up a little bit of a ball on the back. You can see it got a little fuzzy there. It's all right. Just peel that off. We have a nice little nubbin. And we're going to use some of this CDL, the Cordyleone fibers. I really like them for tailing. And I'm going to pinch off a nice clump right there. Probably like at least seven fibers there. I'm going to measure it to 1 shank length. And I'm going to tie it in right at that point where I have that little ball from the dubbing. And you're going to see it's going to splay out these fibers. Now, they were a little off to the side, so pinch them if you need to and get them oriented the way you'd like, straight out. And as you wrap down, they're going to flatten out, splay out, and then even point upwards a little bit as it pushes up against that little dubbing ball. So we'll pull back the butt ends of those CDL fibers and trim them off. Just take a little bit more of the thread, wrap over the butt ends, give it a little bit of a nice thread taper to build up the body, come back to that hook point, grabbing some more of this dubbing, quite a bit more, and we're going to dub up a body here. So we're just, a nice thin noodle. This is the Superfine dubbing. This is good dubbing, and you want to keep it tight. Thin noodle, that's what we're going for here. So nice taper to the body. It all starts with a good dubbing noodle. So we're going to start it back at the tail, and you can see just gives that tail a little bit of a pull in the right kind of direction, and building the body up, touching wraps with this dubbing, little bit of an overlap as we get towards the wing, just to build up more of like a thorax taper, leaving some space behind the wing, sweeping the wing back, and then going up to the front right behind the hook eye. We're going to leave the thread right there and give it an inspection. I think I see some kind of fuzzy back there. Let's see if we can get that out of there. Size up the hackle. We got a size 14 hook, and this hackle is really just on the 14, which is nice. I have some bare stem at the end. I'm going to shorten up this thread so I have more control and kind of pinch that wing to keep it out of the way. And one loose wrap over the stem. Try to make sure it's behind the eye before I really lock it in. And I'm tying it down quite a bit in front, making sure that it is tied in. Give it a shake, and then go back. You can preen the wing, go back behind the wing, a couple of wraps. Again, the squared off wing, you kind of have more control over it too. It has its advantages. So a few wraps behind the wing around the hackle to really get it locked in place. Looking good. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more dubbing so that we can cover the hackle and then create a little bit of a head also, because we want to have a nice head to the fly. So we'll dub up another thin noodle right there, and that's going to help us cover our hackle stem and build a little bit of a thorax there around the wing. So 2 wraps in the back, and we're going to put a little bit more dubbing on just so we have enough for a nice head on the fly. Thin little bit right here, and then we'll shorten up the thread. Couple wraps up in the front. You can see it's just a nice little round head. Looking good. Some more fuzzies to remove. And we'll, It looks all right. We can wrap that thread around one more time, and then we'll put it on the cradle. I'd like 3 wraps with the hackle in the back, and then about 3 in the front. Some people go crazy. It should be, it's Catskill style. It's well hackled. So you see I did 3 in the back, 3 in the front. I'm holding it up. I'm going to remove the bobbin from the cradle, shorten it up so I have more control. This is a point you really do want some control. And I like to lock it in 3 wraps around the back of the hackle. And then I'll give it a wrap around the front of the hackle too, just to really lock it in. Come out, trim it off nice and close. And then I'm going to grab my bodkin, because the backside of the bodkin is a half hitch tool. And when I have a hackle fly where it's hackled in the front like this, I like to give it a half hitch in the front because it seals it and it pulls that hackle back just a little bit. You see how it straightened it out? It's looking good. You can give it a nice little inspection. Again, that fuzz is back there. Trim it off. Check the wing. The wing looks good. That spread is nice. You can preen it. You can fluff it out if you need to. Pull it here and there. Make sure it's situated well. It's looking good. You give it a good inspection before you lock it in with a whip finish here. And you can see the hackle in the front got all twisted up, but because I did that half hitch, I saved my work, so I could just fix that up there. See that? It's looking really nice. Now I'll grab my whip finish tool and I'll give it a 5-turn whip finish and finish it off. Trying not to trap any hackle fibers. However, 90% of the time you're going to trap a hackle fiber just like that. So we'll trim off the hackle fiber before I trim off the thread. I'll trim off the thread. And that really will do it. Just a couple little, housekeeping trims maybe, but other than that, it's looking pretty nice. The profile looks good. The wing is crisp. The squared off wing really looks crisp. Nice profile. Good fly. And easier to tie with that squared off wing. And now you know why. So that's my take on the Catskill style dry fly. I hope you all enjoy the tie. Until the next one, stay fly.